And that's why for me, taking this sabbatical was like, how do I scale this business? Well, then you come to find out it's like, well, I can't scale a business because I personally haven't scaled myself. I haven't learned how to scale myself. Everything that I've done, especially thinking about money, has been how do I put things in a very specific model so it's easily transferable to my kids, meaning not the cash itself, but the model, the concept, the idea on how to actually think about money in all these various phases. And then we'll talk about the phases here now. I want to give that little setup. Um, because this is a conversation pretty consistently now, right? Because the kids are doing great things and they're on their climb. And the biggest, I'll say, warning for people that are wired like me is that um, there's this I'll call it narcissistic mind um, frame that in many ways is can be a very dangerous thing. Usually is for most people that are wired like me is that you always think you can earn more. You'll take super high risk because it's just easy to earn more. And for me, I had nobody to teach me on how to put like guardrails around my decisions and my activities. And so I pissed away a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money over the years, millions of dollars. And at the time, man, it seemed like a great idea. You're talking to an entrepreneur, you invest in their thing, and you realize quickly that the idea was great, certainly doable, certainly foreseeable. I could see the whole vision. The challenge is it wasn't my thing. It was the other entrepreneur. And that other entrepreneur has crazy mindset like I do. And that person doesn't have guardrails around their spending habits. And all of a sudden the investment money we put in those companies just evaporate. And so that's why startups are so painful. And just highly recommend for most people, stay away from them. Unless you have millions of dollars in the bank and you can afford to lose that money because you will, or that might you'll never see a return on that money for many, many, many years. Um, that you stay away from any of this startup nonsense. That thinking about these phases of your life when you're young and you don't have commitments, meaning you don't have maybe a legally bound partner like a marriage uh, or children. This is the phase in your life when you should just be like heads down, man, developing all kinds of skills, absolutely kicking ass and whatever the thing is that you choose. And that's the key. Choose something and then commit to it and then go like be the best at it for the next 5 years. And if you do that in this day and age, you can set yourself up for the rest of your life by 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 picking a target, picking a time frame, developing a set of skills, providing quality service in that market. And with the technology that we have today, the internet, um, it's amazing how fast individuals can increase the level of their value out into a marketplace because of technology. And so it's made me think about, markets and money so differently. In the beginning, when you're just getting going, you got to build skills so the market will pay you for valuable skills that the market actually needs. That's why the collegiate model today, unless you're going into, being a doctor or lawyer or something that you physically have to have that piece of paper that's because it's a requirement of that path, then if that's the requirement, that's the requirement. And if you need to be, if you want to be in the medical field and that's the requirement, then by all means go get them. Um, but just realize that eventually you're going to have to build some kind of income stream that's going to be outside of that role because the deal can change on you so quickly. And so developing skills early on, and this is what I teach most young folks is if you're naturally good at something, like figure out what your unique ability is, right? And you can do that through a series of, personality-ish type tests. Now they're not all They're not going to be all 100% accurate, but they're going to give you a pretty good idea. Take the Colby, do your Myers Briggs, do um, or Young, um, Disc. Jordan Peterson's got a great one now that's kind of a combination of all these. Um, but by doing that, you're going to get a sense, at least, of kind of what your unique abilities are, or what you're naturally gifted that brings you energy, that doesn't suck the lifeblood out of you. And the cool thing is, if you can discover this early, then you can build skill sets in that area, and then you're going to naturally be good at that thing. And then you know what happens when you're naturally good at something? People are going to start paying you a lot of money because you're going to be very confident in your ability to earn income and deliver a high value. And this is a challenge with, the system that's going on in the market today, is that there's still this broken, horrible model that kids coming out of, this horrible K through 12 program. And I mean horrible because not necessarily because the material isn't necessarily that good. It's that it's only designed to meet certain individuals at how they learn. People like me and most other entrepreneurs that are ADD, OCD, dyslexic, and all kinds of other crazy acronyms, um, didn't get along so well with that education system, which then beats your self-image down because you see everybody else around you, and they only teach that there's one system. So you must just suck. You must just be stupid because that's the education system, as opposed to people like me that, like math and formula and science and uh, imagery and things of that nature, and suffered on the, reading comprehension and all that, just because, when letters are backwards and numbers are backwards, it was hard to comprehend things. Until much later. My brain didn't develop that side or that component until much later. And so the faster that you as an individual can learn how you are naturally wired from birth, and you can align that with a set of skills, that's what I call the happiness quotient, which is if I can figure out how I'm hardwired and align it with my soft wiring from, the community I'm raised in, and I can uh, question the belief system that was put into me. That is the happiness quotient. My hardwiring to my soft wiring, and the closer they get, the happier you will be. It's amazing how it works. And so you could take that same approach to learning how you're hardwired from birth and unearthing these belief systems that you have that will help you get you closer to how you're hardwired, and then find the skill sets that, or the industry that you would naturally have skills in because of how you're wired. It's a magic formula. If you love what you're doing every day, as they say, it's not work. And you'll perform at a much higher level, and you will consistently be rewarded for delivering value in that marketplace. And then you start learning, how the tax code works. And you got to move yourself from, like, what I consider an entrepreneur, idea person, visionary type person, has developed some skills. They go do it on their own, kind of the Gerber's E-Myth model, where it's like, you learn how to be a great technician and then you become a business owner. Well, those skills don't cross over generally, right? Um, Now you have to learn a whole new set of rules and skills in order to make an entity thrive and grow, right? And then once you can uh, keep it alive, you got to figure out how to grow it before you go and scale it, right? And so there's all these different levels and phases that happen along the way. So when you're starting out, my recommendation is figure out how you're hardwired so you can go find an industry that is going to suit you, develop skills in that industry, and then you're going to be excited to go to work every day. And it's something that you could do and become an expert in that lane for the next 5 years. Put your head down and go develop skills. Because when you stack skills, the market will pay. And this is the thing that kids are just missing in most entrepreneurs, is like, If you got a skill and you're an entrepreneur and you go and apply it out to a market, you are going to win. You're going to get some type of result because you've built skills that the market wants. The challenge with all of us as entrepreneurs is that our business will grow to the exact level that the entrepreneur, the visionary, is at. Whatever the level of the individual is, the growth is the level of the business. And I could tell you for years, we were stuck at 1 million and then 2 million and 3 million for years, and then 4 million and 5 million, right? And like you keep, you kind of get to a certain point, and it's like, I gotta get out of the way, man. Like I'm the one that's in the way. And that's why for me, taking this sabbatical was like, how do I scale this business? Well, then you come to find out it's like, well, I can't scale the business because I personally haven't scaled myself. I haven't learned how to scale myself. Well, what does that mean? Well, I got to start understanding how to have take care of my health. I got to understand my relationships. Right? I got to understand some playtime so I'm not burnt out all the time. And so there's a lot more to moving through these phases. But when you're starting, you just got to get a set of skills. Then you start developing that income, and now you got to figure out what to do with that income extra, right? And for me, you just got to set up a simple model of, some people is like a 60-40, 15-5, right? So 60% goes into some boring, very simple, um, whatever, 5 to 8%, um, you know, money market type account, something really simple, and it just kind of grinds away, right? And for most people, that should be 80%. And then, maybe it's 10%, a little higher risk, 5%, super high risk, and 5% burn money, right? And you could just set up whatever model is the most comfortable for you. But if you don't have one, you don't know how to budget. You don't know where to put the buckets of money, right? And so that's why for folks, especially young folks, it's like it's paramount for you to understand what your budget is. What is your daily expenses, and how you can consistently regulate those things every single day. Meaning you got X amount of dollars to feed yourself, you got X amount of dollars to put shelter over your head, you got X amount of dollars for transportation, you got X amount of dollars for fun, X amount of dollars for tithing, right? And you get all these buckets set up, and you know exactly how much money is going into each of these buckets. You know how much is extra, how much am I investing? And then you take that extra money that you can invest, and it goes into another series of buckets for those specific things I just lined out. And then for me, like, man, my deal is like, if you don't have at least, and again, I'm just going to use some numbers, like somewhere between 50 and $100,000 of cash sitting in the bank, uh, I wouldn't invest in anything except yourself.